There is no way to describe what Israel is doing in the Gaza Strip as anything else than war crimes. These are crimes against humanity. Impunity leads to recurrence of crimes. Are Palestinian civilian lives less sacred? Does anyone here agree with Israel that we are subhumans? Justice, not vengeance.
Hamas, the genocidal terrorist organization, started this war, and Israel has the legal and the moral right to protect its citizens, period.
In all of 2022, across all conflict areas around the world combined, around 3,000 children were killed. 3,000 too many. In 3 weeks, Israel killed 3,600 Palestinian children in the Gaza Strip, more than all the children killed in all conflict areas in a year. Is there anyone here, anyone with a shred of humanity and decency, that thinks there is any justification for that? Anyone here that believes these numbers are possible if Israel was not targeting civilians, or at the very least, conducting indiscriminate attacks? The rules of international law came in response to tragedies we failed to prevent. The international community has failed those who were killed. It is failing the besieged, the wounded, the sick, the displaced. But thousands of lives hang in the balance. They can still be saved. There is no way to describe what is happening as anything less than war crimes. If you recognize these acts are committed as part of a widespread or systematic attack against the civilian population, these are crimes against humanity. If you recognize they are committed with intent to destroy in whole or in part a national group, then they are genocide. These are the choices: genocide, crimes against humanity, or war crimes. Which one does any country here wants to try and justify? As a leading humanitarian NGO puts it, the humanitarian rule book has been thrown out, and polite pleas from politicians to minimize civilian fatalities are naive at best, and at worst seem blind to the unimaginable horrors already taking place in Gaza. Impunity leads to recurrence of crimes. The Israeli permanent representative stood in the Security Council and placed a yellow star on his jacket, evoking the Holocaust, while at the same time justifying the bombings that are killing Palestinian civilians by the thousands, children by the thousands. No one can instrumentalize the Holocaust to justify atrocities. No one. We honor the victims of the Holocaust and all victims by never justifying the killing of innocent civilians, by upholding international law for all. The Holocaust was one of the worst horrors humanity ever witnessed, and with other horrors led us to elaborate the very rules that are being breached today. The Charter, the Geneva Convention, the Universal Declaration for Human Rights. It led us to adopt the Rome Statute, 50 years too late, and build a court with a universal calling, not for one group against another, but for all humanity. Are we not part of that human family? Are Palestinian civilian lives less sacred? Does anyone here agree with Israel that we are subhumans? During each statement delivered here, every 5 minutes, a Palestinian child is killed. When we say every minute counts, we mean it. It's the difference between life and death for hundreds of people, for thousands of people. There's no safe haven, no safe place in Gaza. People are asked to go south, and the south is under the bombs. 40% of those killed were killed in the south. Don't believe the lies. There is nothing called an evacuation order to protect civilians. Israel has admitted in this memo of the Ministry of Intelligence that the goal was the forced displacement of people outside of the Gaza Strip, outside of Palestine. the same goal pursued over 75 years. We have 75 years of experience to know Israeli goals. It is not to protect our civilians. It has never been to protect our civilians. It has always been to dispossess and displace our people.
We regret that once again, the Palestinian delegate has chosen to exploit this esteemed platform and exhaust its valuable time by sharing misleading information and inflate numbers, seemingly running out of valid legal arguments. We should all remember, there is no law without facts, and the facts are very clear. Hamas, the genocidal terrorist organization, started this war, and Israel has the legal and the moral right to protect its citizens, period. Hamas is the ruler of Gaza Strip. Hamas is behind this attack, and it will be held accountable for the ramifications of its actions, period. In this asymmetric warfare, everything is asymmetric. There is one side, a democratic state, which abides by the international law and does everything within its power to minimize civilian casualties, and on the other side, there is a genocidal terror organization which blatantly ignores and violates international law time and again, and strives to maximize the civilian casualties on the Israeli side as well as on the Palestinian side. If the Palestinian delegate and their supporters' concerns are genuinely for the well-being of Palestinians in Gaza, we suggest they address Hamas, which hides in the tunnels under hospitals and whose actions and use of civilians as human shields significantly impacts the situation on the ground. The right thing to do is to condemn Hamas. If they won't condemn Hamas, as they haven't been refusing to do since the massacre on October 7th, perhaps it would be better if this forum would focus on developing the international law rather than being influenced by those who wish to spread false information and political agendas.